Can Hoosier hysteria handle a hostile horseshoe? Hello. Welcome to the Podcast Daily. It is Freaky Friday, and we are one day away from finding out what's going to happen with a top 5 matchup with Indiana coming to Ohio State. These are bold predictions. That is Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. Bill, you seem impressed. The alliteration is back, baby.
You should have introduced yourself as Dr. Seuss. I think that would have been more fitting there. That was pretty impressive.
Hey, I have free time. I can work on some rhymes, but that will be the end of that. I want to work backwards this week. It did work out. I think people liked when we put some of the game predictions up front for Penn State the last time that we had one where there may have been some reason to debate the final score and the outcome. I think all three of us believe Ohio State is going to win this game. They are nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, but let's start there and then work backwards. Bill, what do you have already weighed in on this elsewhere, but what do you expect to happen on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it'll be a closer-ish kind of game. My final score is 28-17, so that's an Indiana cover. I was kind of thinking along those lines of a closer kind of game before the Seth McLaughlin injury. Now that it's happened and we know how Ohio State is going to account for that, I don't know that I've changed my thought on it too much. I didn't change my score or anything like that. I guess I'm curious how Ohio State's offensive line will handle it because I do think that Indiana's defensive front is pretty good. It'll be part of one of the bold predictions I make. I think it's going to be a bit of a, I don't know if defensive struggle is the right word, but I think it's going to start kind of slow for both teams. I think if it doesn't start slow, like if Ohio State is able to score early in this game, then I could definitely see a path for Ohio State to kind of run away with it. I just and both teams I think have been pretty good about starting games fast for the most part this year. But I think there might be a feeling out process there that then leads to a little bit of a lower scoring, tighter kind of game. So 28-17. I don't know that it's a game where in the fourth quarter you really feel like it's in the balance necessarily, but I think the final result ends up with Indiana covering. Perhaps it is a backdoor cover situation.
Okay. Berm?
Monday I said 34-13 Ohio State. I'm going to change my score a little bit based on the loss of Seth McLaughlin and drop it down to a 27-13 Ohio State win. Again, barring just very, very sloppy bad play by Ohio State, Indiana's going to have to play absolutely perfect, and Ohio State's going to have to give them gifts for the Hoosiers to win this game, in my opinion. I know that they are outscoring their opponents every week by 30 points. I realize they are extremely balanced. I know all of the things that Indiana does well. I just can't get the second half of that Michigan game out of my mind. And Ohio State has an offense that can score points. Michigan doesn't. And so I think Ohio State will win by 2 touchdowns, 27-13.
Can I ask about that? Because I'll ask both of you guys, I guess, because I watched the Indiana Michigan game like everybody else did, and saw Michigan's defensive line really take over that game in the second half. 1 to 10, I guess. What is your confidence level that Ohio State's defensive line can and will do something similar?
I don't know, a 6 maybe, but I think it's a combination of the linebackers and the increase of pressure from Jim Knowles. I think it's a combination of those things with the secondary and Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs being involved in the blitz game. That gives me the confidence that the Buckeyes will be able to apply pressure. Curtis Rourke's been really, really good under pressure, but I just think that there are multiple ways to get to him. And Michigan was doing it strictly pretty much on the edge with TJ Guy. And I don't know if Ohio State will do it that way, but if you looked at the way that Indiana's offensive tackles, who've been very good all year, played against Michigan's defensive ends, which were the best they faced, and I still think JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer are better than those guys. I think that there's a path there for Ohio State to wreak some havoc.
I think I would be a 5, Bill, and that's maybe a cop-out that it's just a coin flip situation. But, I don't know how many times we can go into these games and say, well, JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer have the ability to take over this game, and we expect them to do that and then not see that. And that sounds like a damning indictment, and it's probably too harsh and too critical. But if you look at their production levels on a week in, week out basis, you don't always know if they're going to show up and take over games against opponents where I think that they should. And many other people agree with that you would think that a matchup against Indiana and their tackles would favor Jack and JT. I think there will be pressure created, but I don't know if it's gonna come solely by the front. Tyleik Williams and Ty Hamilton, we know that they have the ability to collapse the pocket and create a lot of havoc on the interior, but I don't know that we've seen enough that I could say 8 or 9 on a confidence level for Jack and JT when, you know, I think 4 years ago, that'd be ridiculous. Of course, they're
Yeah.
gonna dominate that game.
No, I kind of feel the same way, and I'm not saying that they won't dominate the game. I guess my prevailing thought is if Ohio State can get pressure with 4, then like we'll see it next week. Like there's Indiana's not going to win the game.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't. My confidence level is probably about like a 5 or a 6 that'll happen too. And then if it is pressure via send in 5, send in 6, is a secondary up to the task of covering these receivers all game in a way that helps Ohio State win in lopsided fashion. That's part of the reason why I think it's a little bit closer because I don't know that I 100% trust Ohio State's defensive line to dominate quite as much as I felt like I saw Michigan's defensive line dominate in the second half of that game against Ohio
Yeah.
against Indiana.
I also think that it doesn't have to be just Jack and JT. I mean, we've seen Caden Curry getting a lot of reps and the energy he brings, the sheer like elite athleticism of Tyleik Williams and Edric Houston now in the middle. Like I think Ohio State has guys that Indiana has not seen,
Mhm.
and I think just the ability to rotate them all game. And Ohio State's not going to wait till the second half to blitz like Michigan did. So
Right.
um, I would imagine that you're going to see a steady deluge of pressure early and often and from a lot of different people. So, if we go back to the Northwestern game, like Jack pretty much dominated that game up front. He just didn't hit the quarterback.
You did.
Yep.
Um, so it's just about completing the play. And I'd like to think that a raucous Ohio Stadium crowd will provide some energy and maybe put Curtis Rourke in a situation where he's a little skittish. And that leads to things happening.
Think, my final score may come as a little bit of surprise given the way I've talked about Indiana and the disparity between the talent. I believe they're very well coached, and I think that they are probably positioned to make a few plays, uh, in the air against Ohio State's cornerbacks, even though, Bill and I saw Davison Igbinosun and Denzel Burke working, really late on Wednesday night. So, I think 31-17 is about where I am. I'm trying to give credit to what I think is a solid fundamental Indiana team, but they're outclassed by Ohio State. And you say, well, why don't you think they can score more than 31? Well, because they're playing at one of the slowest tempos in the country. And it's like, I don't I if you're saying 0 to 10 on a confidence level, can Ohio State put up 40 points again on a team like Indiana? I don't think they're trying to. So I wouldn't have a
Mhm.
lot of confidence. That's another coin flip situation. So my scores are probably a little bit lower than the way that I've talked about this game, but I think that's the way it's going to play out. Let's get more specific. Let's drill down. Bill, what do you got?
I will stick. So I hope this doesn't sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth because
It
I'm
does.
not concerned about Ohio State's defensive line. I'm just like
On alert.
uncertain. I'm uncertain, I guess. But one spot that I do feel potentially pretty good about is defensive tackle here for Ohio State. Indiana is playing a backup left guard in this game. It's actually playing 2 backup guards. The guy they thought was going to start at right guard got hurt in camp, so they've been playing 1 backup guard kind of all year, and then their left guard went down a couple weeks ago, and the guy who played against Michigan just wasn't very good. He's a transfer from James Madison who kind of got worked in that game. And I think Tyleik Williams can have some similar success there. I don't know that I'm watching Tyleik and seeing a guy that I'm convinced is 100% healthy, and I don't know that he's probably playing to like peak capabilities the last couple of weeks. But even if he's not, he's still a lot to handle. And I bet you get maybe the best version we've seen of him over the last couple of weeks in this game. So I'm gonna say that Tyleik ends up with 5 pressures in this game. He's only had 3 in his last 4 games total. So I'll say 5 pressures, and I'll say like 3 plays behind the line of scrimmage, combination of tackles for loss or a sack. I won't divvy up the action there, but give me 5 pressures, 3 plays behind the line of scrimmage for number 91.
Yeah, if they get pressure up the middle, that's a bad day for Indiana.
Yeah, I think so.
That was
Bill,
391, not free 91.
Yeah, right.
Bill, as the certified ball knower, what do you think about this idea I have that Ohio State should let Davison Igbinosun travel with Elijah Surratt on Saturday?
I don't hate it. Yeah.
Uh, And I know it's not typically what Ohio State does, but if you look at Indiana's other receivers, they're in the 5'10", 5'11" range like Denzel Burke is, and we've seen Denzel Burke really struggle with the bigger receivers. And I think it makes perfect sense for Ohio State to put Davis and Igbenogson. Yes, he's handsy. Yes, maybe you get a penalty or two, but I think you're going to get a better matchup if you let him travel with Elijah Surratt, who is the go-to guy for Curtis Rourke. And so even if they don't do that, I think it's going to be a day where Davis and Igbenogson reignites people's passion for him on the Ohio State in the Ohio State field of play, because I think he's in for a big day. I'm actually going to say it's going to be this is bold, but 2 Davis and Igbenogson interceptions on Saturday, because Indiana's going to try to take shots, and I think he's a guy that's better positioned generally to make the plays that he needs to make. And yes, maybe he'll get 2 PIs as well, but I don't care about those as long as they don't happen on the interceptions.
You keep saying maybe.
Yeah.
He's definitely gonna have at least 1 penalty in this game.
Well, maybe.
Especially if he's traveling with Surratt, because Surratt's going to get I would say at least 8 targets in this game.
Well, and Surratt's also very physical and pushes off a lot, and so I think
He does. Yeah.
it's about like what the officials allow to happen. We've actually seen, Davis and Igbenogson. I think it was Nebraska. Their receiver got called for an offensive PI against him. I think that there's an opportunity to see it both ways. But either way, if the officials let those guys get physical against each other, I think that you're in for a really fun matchup. And I can't see a scenario where Davison doesn't win at least one of those.
He also drew a penalty against Oregon in a top 5 matchup. So uh, I think we can all agree he must just be the most annoying cornerback to play against in the entire country.
He's got to be. Can we just have Elijah Surratt and Davis and Igbenogson just square off in the block O? Get some boxing gloves out there, and that'll decide the game.
Circle drill. I think that would be worth the price of admission. Berm, you said that maybe we would see some other people involved rushing the passer. You must have read my mind. There's another guy. I'm told, I don't remember by who, that CJ Hicks might enjoy coming off the edge and rushing the passer. It looked pretty good last week against Northwestern. And even when he got a little extra practice one-on-one against Donovan Jackson on Wednesday night, I thought that looked pretty enticing too. If Mitchell Melton is banged up, I don't even if he is healthy, I think CJ Hicks, Ohio State has come around on this idea. Whatever message was delivered in whatever fashion, I think everyone has come around to the idea that CJ Hicks needs to be involved getting after the quarterback. And I think he's going to get maybe 10 to 12 chances to do it on Saturday. And that's going to lead to 2 sacks for CJ Hicks in this game.
I hope you're right.
From an edge spot, or is he blitzing as a box linebacker?
I think he's going to line up
disguised
as a blitzing linebacker. I think he's going to play Jack, and I think there's just going to be times that they stand him up on the edge and let him go. I think the idea that CJ Hicks needs to go out there and line up like a traditional linebacker, I think everyone has moved past that, and now it's to the point of hey, we have this new age Baron Browning. How can we use him? Wouldn't it be cool if he did this thing or that thing and we just let him focus on that? I think that is the new world that Ohio State is living in. At least I hope they are, because we've been asking for it for 3 years. There's no better time. It's championship or bust situation here.
Man, I go back to 1995 and 1997, sorry, the freshman year of Andy Katzenmeyer, and he was in the middle of the Ohio State defense, and all he did was blitz. And he had 12 sacks that year, but he had Greg Balisari and I think Jerry Rodzinski next to him at linebacker, and there was two really smart guys that were out there that were controlling things, that were making sure that things didn't get haywire, and just let that guy go get the quarterback. And I think CJ can do that. CJ can be that guy. So I hope that he gets that many opportunities on Saturday to do it.
All right. Bold prediction number 2, Bill.
Will Howard is going to set a season high for rushing yards in this game. It's not a particularly high number that he would have to eclipse. I think it's only 28 that he had against Iowa, so he can do that on one play, I guess, if he wants to in this game. I was looking at his career rushing production. The top 5 games in his career, he has 200-yard games. 86, 82, 79 are his top 5 individual putouts there. 3 of them have come in either November or December. It's time. It is time to unleash Will Howard's running ability.
Activate.
Where activate it. Where I want to see the play we saw in camp where he got to the corner and just ran 80 yards for a touchdown. I'm not saying he actually has to do that for Ohio State to win this game. I do think he has to run more. And maybe he doesn't need that many attempts to get a season high, but I think, in the red zone, you got to finish drives in this game, have to finish drives in this game. So in the red zone, short yardage, I think we see that used. But with the offensive line stuff, maybe a thought that Ohio State still wants to keep playing its kind of ball control offense that it's played for much of this year in this game. I think Will is going to be the most involved he's been and the most productive that he's been on the ground. So I will say that he will have 60 rushing yards, at least 60 rushing yards in this game. Yeah. And on top of that, 2 scores.
On the ground. Double ding dong.
If Indiana's going to blitz as much as we think they are and do as many things creatively with pressure, Ohio State's going to need to even out those numbers in the run game. And so I think it has to be Will Howard. I think you're right. Bill. But I also think that it's time for Emeka Egbuka to be activated. As I alluded to this on the Stock Watch on Wednesday. You knew this was coming. If you wanted to take Emeka Egbuka, you could have done it on your first time. You didn't. I took it. It's mine. 3 touchdowns for Emeka Egbuka in this game. I don't know how he gets them, but of Ohio State's 27 points, all the touchdowns are coming via Emeka Egbuka.
Wow. Well, that is bold. And I was going to say, yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Have I shared with you guys the Emeka stat? Emeka in top 5 games.
No. Throw it out there as a reminder.
He's played in 6 top 5 games: Notre Dame, Michigan, Georgia 2 years ago, Michigan last year, Penn State, Oregon this year. 42 catches, 476 yards, and he scored in all of them.
Okay.
And you also, you have a lot of Emeka stats for this week, which the other was not enough touches since Oregon.
Yeah. I thought the way that Ryan Day answered that question was like, will you shut up, please? We'd like to get Emeka the ball this
is going to be a secret. And I thought that Berm was going to tee it up perfectly because, like, you're talking about equating the numbers. Will Howard can be involved in that. Certainly, you're going to run the football. Ohio State's not going to stop. Travion and Quinshon will get their touches. But Emeka Egbuka is going to as well. And he's going to have 65 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground in this game. So you don't want to drill down on how he gets there.
We've got a little overlap.
We got a little overlap, but I'm willing to say that 2 of them will come on the ground for them. And end around, jet sweep, pop pass. I feel like I'm a broken record when it comes to these big games, but Emeka Egbuka is the X factor for this offense. Like,
yeah, but that also makes you a liar. You can't call a pop pass a rushing touchdown. So if you want to meet me in the middle here,
don't do that. That's
not what that is. If you want to meet me in the middle here, we can agree that 2 of them will come from him being lined up in the backfield or from the backfield.
Okay, whatever.
Deal?
I know that they're not going to run the pop pass, so I don't have to worry about it. It's going to be Jackson.
Oh, buddy, you don't know anything.
That's true. I don't, but Liberty does. All right, you know what time it is. 2 predictions are down, and the future fans guest predictor is back. Liberty Ward in the building, and I got to tell you, Future Fans has been awesome for the 2 of us. Learning, interactive experience. She's become a huge football fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've got someone who could benefit from that and you want to spend some time with the kids and talk about football, play some games.
Because I started, like when I did that, when I started watching football, I barely watched it until it happened.
Until Future Fans. There's a big time sale coming on Black Friday. It's going to make a fantastic gift. We give it 2 thumbs up.
Make that 4.
There we go. 4 thumbs up. You're right. And
may I please get to my predictions?
Of course. Just a second. We got to send them to futurefans.com/OSU. That's futurefans.com/OSU because that sale is coming up. It'll start on Black Friday. Big time discount coming from that. You're going to want to grab that for some Christmas gifts. But yes, it is your time to make a bold prediction. What's on your mind?
So first, I just have this question because it was in my bold prediction.
Okay.
Is Jeremiah Smith going to be okay?
He is going to be okay. We expect him to play. Looks like the ankle is going to be just fine. The
Okay.
Buckeyes will have him against Indiana.
So I think everybody knows Jeremiah Smith,
Mhm.
Will Howard, and Emeka. They're all gonna score. Let's see, 3 touchdowns.
Okay. 3 touchdowns. You're getting touchdowns from Will Howard, touchdown from Emeka Egbuka, touchdown from Jeremiah Smith. And you told me who was going to win on Saturday at noon.
OHIO.
Okay, that spells out Ohio. There was a big script Ohio going on for this game, and it was going around at Northwestern last week. It was pretty cool to hear that. So bring the juice, bring the noise, just like Liberty is ready to cheer for this game against Indiana. Back to you, Bill Landis.
All right, so this is going to be a weird one.
Uh-oh.
And this is me like overthinking it. It's also not interesting, and if I'm right, it's going to be boring. But I apologize. It's just like how I think the game might go. So I'm gonna combine 2 thoughts here. Ohio State and Indiana don't punt. Ohio State is 122nd in the country in total number of punts. Indiana is 131st. Like neither one of these teams punt ever. They both average about 2 per game. I think they're going to combine for 8 punts in this game, and I think there will be no points scored in the first quarter.
Oh,
I think this is going to be like a real, like I said when I gave my score prediction, like a real feeling out process here to start this game. I think it's going to be potentially a pretty boring first half of football, and maybe we start to see it get turned up a little bit toward the end of the second quarter, and then whatever happens is going to get decided, I think, probably in the third quarter, where Ohio State's defense has not given up anything, where Ohio State has put games away for the majority of this season. I just kind of I don't know. I feel like Ohio State's big games sometimes follow that script. Or not even all the big games. I know like Oregon didn't quite follow that script, but like Penn State was kind of slow going aside from the pick 6.
It was 7-0 against Iowa. It was
7-0
0-0 at the end of
Iowa.
Northwestern first quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's also because I think Ohio State will kind of want to ease the offensive line into the game a little bit too, which might mean running it a little more, and maybe the first half gets kind of shortened. So I'm predicting like a boring first 20 minutes of the game, I guess is what I'm doing, which is like a really terrible bold prediction. But I think if 8 punts happen, that would be very out of the ordinary for both these teams. So I think that qualifies as bold.
Ohio State has played some exceptionally boring first quarters, and it's almost like they don't think that the game starts until the middle 8. They're like, we're going to win the middle 8 and put things away. They're like, you could do that earlier. That's allowed. It's legal now.
Ohio State is trying harder than I think I've ever seen Ohio State try to get fans to be awake on Saturday at noon. And if they come out and you have 8 punts and just a punt fest in the first and second quarter, I'm going to feel really bad for Ryan Day and the efforts to get people excited. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see Ohio State actually come out swinging because they know that what's on at stake here. So that's
Do you think they'll
irrelevant.
take the ball if he has the opportunity?
I don't because I
don't
think
think
I think the energy in the stadium is going to be counted on to get the ball back quickly.
That gets to make sense. Yeah, get the crowd into it on defense. Yeah,
that's how I see it. At the risk of like piggybacking off of boring, vague, bold prediction, I'm gonna do the same thing.
Just say
It wasn't-
bad. Just say
it wasn't
say a
vague.
bad. Just say a bad bold prediction.
I
it
think
was boringly specific.
Ohio State will have its longest kick return of the season in this game.
No.
I don't know. It's not. It may not be a touchdown. I just think that there's going to be a moment in this game. Special teams comes down to athletes sometimes, and Indiana has a lot of really good experienced players in their starting 22, and I know they play a lot of those guys on special teams, but depth is not on their side in this game. When it comes down into this game, they're going to need to get their players some rest because Ohio State is a different beast than they've played all year. And I think that's going to open up a door for Travion Henderson, maybe even Lorenzo Styles on a kickoff to change momentum early in this game with, or at some point in this game with a field flopping kick return. So that
Field flopping.
It's a field flopping. Yeah. You flop the field.
Oh, okay.
Do you, I want to get clarity on this. Do you only get this right if they have a 24-yard kick return, which would be his longest kick return of the season, or do they have to actually flip the
let's
field?
say over 40.
Okay.
Because I
Okay.
was going to say, are they going to get past the 25-yard line at some point? Which is
Let's say
would be a
over 40
huge
yards.
victory. Over 40. All right.
Is the longest one of the year only 23 yards of Jaden Ballard in the first game?
Yes.
Oh man, I thought that was like 45. He was so close to busting it, and Ryan Day was talking about it 3 days later, like it was the greatest kick return he's ever seen. So,
well, it's one of the best ones he's seen in the last 5 years.
Okay, let's just call it a 40+ yard kick return at some point in this game by Ohio State, their longest of the season.
There's no way. There's no way. The long overdue trip to the end zone for Caleb Downs is coming. It won't be on a punt return, spoiler, because that nothing good happens for Ohio State on special teams unless they block a punt, which maybe they will this week. I'm not going to predict it. That'd be 3.
If there's going to be 8 of them, there's a chance.
There's a lot of chances. I think Bill's probably right about that. But this is pick 6 week for Caleb Downs. It's going to happen. It's going to be critical. It's going to help win him a bunch of awards in a couple weeks and make him an All-American again. This is the time. We've been waiting long enough. As I mentioned on Thursday, it's still really fun to watch him, even when he hasn't done it. But I think just it's building towards something special. And this is the opportunity. Indiana puts it in the air a lot. Caleb Downs jumping in. What do you say? What do you got, Berm?
Are you saying we're going to get Downs with the pick 6?
All right, I'll see you guys later.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Nice.
You read my mind again. Congratulations to you. And congratulations to everybody who's made it to the end of another
We should
week.
write a song that has like that general melody to it. Downs with the pick 6.
How would you start it? Like, would you make any kind of like weird utteral grunt to start the song?
There's a fairly good chance I would, but I would do that with most music.
Wah!
Yeah, something like that. Like a scream would be good. We'll do that on Saturday. If Caleb Downs has a pick 6 against Indiana, I will, on the field, scream the intro to Down with the Sickness on the field. And whoever is around me, if they're in the media and they've watched,
no, you have to wait till snap judgments.
Oh, maybe. I got to do some practicing on that, though. I got to see how it works, how it sounds. I don't want to embarrass myself. So I'll do it on the field anyway, if it happens.
Okay. We've made it to the end of Freaky Friday and Bold Predictions. And of course, it got weird, as it always does. One day away from Ohio State hosting Indiana noon, big noon kickoff in the Horseshoe. Bill Landis will be there. We will have the pregame keys. It'll be a 3-man show. Doug Lesmerises, I think, is also going to be at this game, trying to get these guys to bring back their post-game live from the Horseshoe. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll have the notebook and we'll have some snap judgments after the game. So full coverage coming your way from one of the biggest games of the college football season. Can't wait to be there. For Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham, I'm Austin Ward. Have a great weekend. We'll see you tomorrow on the Horseshoe.